first experience hearing Charlie Parker in Kansas City. That was probably the most outstanding experience anywhere. You know, when the first time I heard him, I couldn't believe it. A person had that much, whatever it was he had, man, he had a whole lot of it. You know, there happened to be a young man standing out over here. His name is Buddy Anderson.
Uh-huh.
He introduced me to Charlie Parker. Yeah? So that was one of the big moments of my life. He could win the devil. Yes, yeah. He had just that personality that he could actually win because his spirit, there was so much from his spirit that he could do almost anything, man, and you say, oh, forget it, that's yard, you know. Maybe, you know, come in late, don't make, you know, time or something like that. But he was such a great person and a master musician that you just say, oh, forget it. See, our music, it was developing very well. Even before Charlie Parker, before I heard Charlie Parker, there was a sense of development in Kansas City here. And there was a development in New York with Monk and Kenny Clark and me, several other guys, Joe guys, a lot of guys, Kenny Dorham, guys who we were into something, you know. In New York, we had things pretty covered there, harmonically and rhythmically. But when we heard Charlie Parker, there was he had the, what you would call that, yeah. He was like the architect of the style. When we heard his style, you say, yeah, that's where the music should go, you know? And our music went in that direction, especially we just went together like, it was just like something out of, you know, that you see in glass, you see in the microscope. Yeah, you see atoms go together. Molecules, atoms. Yeah, it was like like that.
Bird played with the first big band I had in Kansas City. And we were on our way to Lincoln, Nebraska to play for a fraternity party up there. And, you know, as you, during those days, as we went in automobiles, we traveled in automobiles, and as you go on the highway through the countryside, the farmers' chickens would run all out along the side of the highway. And they hit one or two chickens. And so Bird told the driver, says, hey, man, look out. You say, you hit those 2 yard birds. Says, back up and let's go get those yard birds. So the guy backed the car up, and Charlie went out to pick up the yard birds and took them on into Lincoln. And, you know, during those days, we always stayed in private homes and things like that because we weren't accepted in hotels then. So he went to a private home, and the lady where he was staying, he asked her, he says, Miss, would you cook these 2 yard birds for me? He says, we hit them on the highway. And so from then on, we started calling him Yardbird.
Well, you know, Charlie Parker was mad. We were in Detroit. He was with Jay. I think Jay fired him. And I was there, and Jay McShann was there, and another band was there, you know, on different jobs, see. So Jimmy Forrest was playing tenor with me, and Jimmy Forrest had worked with Charlie. So now he's fired. So Jimmy Forrest said to me, he said, do you mind if, what do you call him, what do you call Charlie, nickname anyway, Bird. You mind if Bird rides into New York with us? I said, no, it's all right. So I took him into New York with me. and later he joined my band for a short time. And he didn't want to leave New York, you know, because he had his thing going around New York. But as long as I was around New York, he was with me. But we were playing down in Washington at on a job. And in the mission, he went one way and we went one way. So it's time to come back. I said, "Where's Bird?" So I said, "Well, I'll go down, first place, I go down to the toilet in the men's room." I went down there. He was just sitting on a stool with the lid down, you know. He was just sitting there meditating. I said, "Ain't you going to make this show, man?" He said, "Sure." Sure. So he came on up. I had no problem with him until he wanted to leave. He didn't want to leave New York, so he stayed around New York, and I was going out on the road again. So he left. But as long as he was in there, everything was together. And I can't say anything negative about Charlie Parker. His playing was good, and he was on time, and he didn't miss any jobs. Now, what he did off the job, I didn't want to know anything about.
A riff is a pattern, a sound pattern, like dun 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 dun. Now that's a old timey, but it's still effective riff. That came from the Blue Devils, I think. I'm not absolutely sure, but I mean that's a riff, and then dun 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 dun. See, that has more going. It's more exciting. Dun 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 dun. That's a riff. Whoever was in there was free to set a riff, but Bird was one of the greatest riff setters that I have ever seen, heard. Bird he was most original, and you never did know where he was coming from. Yeah, he was very original. Very.
Charlie Parker, I mean, that's the giant. And I met people here who told me some incredible stories about their encounters with Charlie, and his own words in some of the publications they had. I don't think anyone will ever get the story correct, because I've never heard anybody actually create quite the stir that Charlie Parker. And it's been, what, 20 years since he's been dead? More, 30 years. It's been 30 years. And yet no one has made quite the impact that he's had. So he had a lot that never came out about Charlie Parker. But it just shows the kind of mentality that must have been here in Kansas City for him to nurture that and to build up to that kind of artist, you know, over the years. So he pulled me in. Charlie Parker was the source for me.